Welcome everyone again to the Learning to Birth webinar series, where we interview some of the world's most interesting and inspiring thought leaders on birth and pregnancy. We have with us today Michelle Turner. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello, glad to be here. It's wonderful talking to Australia and the rest of the world.
Absolutely, everyone. Yes. So absolutely, Michelle Turner is a women's health educator, Native American herbal healer, and owner of Simply Herbal Organics, which is a wonderful website and resource. So welcome, Michelle. Would you like to tell us about your story and how you became so interested in helping women through their pregnancies and lactation?
Yeah, actually, it starts by my heritage. My great-grandmother was a midwife and a wet nurse, believe it or not, and made money at the turn of the 20th century. You know, she was born in the 1880s. And wet nurse, I'm going like, what's that? She says, Michelle, that's just when you feed other people's babies. And we did that not only for money, because we had to. You know, she's out in the mountains of North Carolina, and she rode horseback to deliver babies or walked all times of the hours in the night. She was funny. She lived to be 99 years old. She gave us all advice and different advice for different things. But nursing was one of those things that I was not able to do. My mother tried, but I was also having a problem. And as I got older, I learned the stories from my grandmothers. Well, whose babies did you feed? And she's going like, well, my nieces, my nephews, and whoever in the neighborhood was going to work. Babies were breastfed, and we breastfed each other's babies. So if somebody was staying home and mama had to go to work, didn't matter who they were, they just brought everybody into the home and breastfed them, and they didn't care and weren't worried about AIDS and that kind of stuff at the time, which a lot of people are now. I had issues breastfeeding. Had a wonderful midwife for my first birth, but I had issues breastfeeding, and so I had a lady from the Leche League come in. And then once she helped me through several problems, then everybody said, started at church and started in the community at college, because I was my senior year at college when I had my first one. They said, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And since the other grandmother was an herbalist, she started me out at 15. And I know that sounds rambly, but yeah, but my neighbors and friends started asking me, help. I'm going like, I don't know what to do but hold your hand. So eventually I learned what to do and hold hands, and took classwork, and became a board certified lactation consultant, then a childbirth educator. And I worked as a doula in the hospital here in Charlotte. One of their first doulas actually hired home care doulas to help moms to do their births. I was very privileged to help that. That's a cool thing to do. And I even brought in some of my herbal stuff to go, and the nurses were like, you're bringing in herbs? A couple doctors looked at you like, what are you doing? And I'm going like, well, this just makes the room smell good. You know, we're not going to medicinally give this to her. I'm using this as massage lotion, or we're using this as a tea to keep her hydrated. They're going like, okay, no issues. Or I had a few just odd looks, but yeah. Then eventually they asked me, can you make something to help? So I started making herbs. That's sort of my story. And I wound up subsequently nursing 3 more children. So, and I actually snuck in a couple of people's extra because they weren't nursing, and they were in a NICU situation, and their lactation consultant said, can you donate a little milk? I said, sure, I got plenty. Gave them the bottles, and undoubtedly babies thrived. So you don't have to directly nurse the baby to get breast milk in them, which is a good thing.
No, that's a phenomenal story. That's incredible. So when did you start being a doula? When was that? How long ago was that?
About 1998. So it's been a little while. And I've been privileged to actually be the catcher for a few of my babies that I've doulaed for. Either the midwife didn't get there, or the lady said, I just trust you to do it. Will you please just do it? And I said, do you trust yourself? And do you trust me if I say, there's an issue here? I said, I know I've helped with bunches of babies. I've known the classes. I learned with some wonderful people, wonderful teachers, Barbara Harper and Gloria LeMay and Ina Mae Gaskin. And those are wonderful ladies, wonderful resources. But they also gave me the courage. If somebody asks you and you have to, do it. And the girls did great. The women did great. Their partners were wonderful. And sometimes men can be a little distracted too. But I would tell the father or the partner, this is what you do. I would not keep, the best thing for a lot of people is keeping your hands off. Keep it quiet. Keep it simple. And go over to the partner and say, hey, she needs a back rub. Can you get us a cold washcloth? And I'm going to let you place it on the back where you tell her to. These are just hints, but it would help. And usually it worked. Now, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes we cut it close getting to the hospital on a few of them. Then the doctors looked at, how come you waited so long? And I'm going like, because mama wasn't ready. And I've had a couple of home births that turned out to be hospital births, but mom wanted to go. Mom needed to go. Not that she was in any distress or the baby was in any distress, but mama was distressed. Mama was, she needed the comfort of that hospital just for her sake. And when she starts crying and begging, hey, listen to mom. Each of us know what our own pain threshold is. We each know what our needs are. And sometimes that's for everybody in the house to calm down and go away. And that's why I tell people, don't have too many people there. You know, have who you want, but not too many. Because I remember my grandmother told me when she had her first, that the grandmother that was the midwife was there for the first one. And she told me, she said, she was more pain than she was worth. But my grandmother was 14 having her first.
No.
So grandpa was there, but the great grandma was there and another doctor was there. But she got along fine. It was born at home. He was a little early, but everything worked out fine. But she said, Mama got me up and made me wait on her. So ladies, learn this. Never wait on people when you're having the birth. When you're birthing a baby, let somebody else wait on you. Unless you're absolutely that stubborn. But even afterwards, get rid of the people. I find that people, you know, there's some people you want there, some you don't. My mother, I would not have had at my birth. But my mother-in-law, yes. My mother-in-law was great. She was wonderful. She had been a nurse. She was a school teacher. She's the one that told my husband, take her to the hospital. It's not gas. So But yes.
Yes. It's a hard decision for a lot of people who feel like they owe it to their mother to let their mother come to the birth, or maybe sometimes the mother-in-law, and you maybe only want one or the other, and you maybe want neither of them, and it maybe feels a little unfair or like they'll blame you. But I think that once the baby pops out, they're going to forget about whether or not they were there to see it come out, you know. They're going to just like the baby.
They do. My daughter-in-law didn't want me there. They wanted me close for the birth, but they didn't want me in at the birth. And then my son, when my now 10-year-old grandson was born by emergency C-section, he brought him down to me and handed to me in this beautiful little blanket and said, "Grandma, I'm giving you your grandson." Forget the fact that I was not even in there when he was born, but that I got to do that. And then the nurse said, "Oh, I understand you're a midwife. Let's go and let you and I and Daddy here, we're going to do all the other stuff." So all of the cleaning and the vitamin K shots and whatever was required at the time at the hospital, they let me perform those. And so I was caring for my grandson. That was a great thrill. That was just the most wonderful thrill to do, and to help her breastfeed. And again, I said, I'm calling on a friend, not just mommy, because I don't want to feel like I'm also taking the place. So,
yes,
but it's wonderful. I told her, I said, now if you'd let me in there, I could have done your acupuncture for you. She says, no, I'm the only one licensed to do it. But my daughter-in-law is a licensed acupuncturist, so she works a lot with me and does Chinese medicine. So I'm actually able to call when somebody says, which they did the other day, a formula, and they said, "Is this safe to use for a nursing mom?" I couldn't read the Chinese. She could. And she was a great help. She replied within a few minutes. And they live in Ecuador. So, yes, I have international family. So they live in Ecuador, and she texted me right back, said, "It's perfectly safe. These are normal herbs. They're just the Chinese names." But I didn't know.
Yes. Yes. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about being an intuitive healer and what that means?
An intuitive healer, yeah, that would be great, because being intuitive, one, it's listening. Yes, I'm running my mouth now. But one, it's listening to who you are talking to. One is also trying to, and I do this at powwows, because as a Native American, we go to powwows and dances and stuff, but I'm usually in a booth, and I have a massage table out there, and I have it blocked off so that when people come, they can look over and buy stuff and leave it in the honor jar. But then I'm working with the person, and then I'm actually not laying hands on, but above the person. I listen to them as they're telling me what they think is wrong and what they feel is wrong. But then I take my hands and I am just trying to involve myself in their body, put myself in their shoes. It's a little hard to do, but just try to see things from their perspective. I'm holding my hand and holding space for them. And then as I hold space and I lay up my own prayers to the universe, to the creator, that I'm going like, now tell me, where do I go to start with this healing process? Because the healing, and I keep telling people, it is a mind, body, and spirit. And if they've all got to be in balance. And if they're not in balance, let's work on getting this physical here. Then let's work on the spiritual. So usually, even before I touch them and I pray over them, I do what we Native Americans call, your husband probably tell you, smudging. We burn sage or an incense of copal resin or something around this person. One, to get out any bad or evil, or just to open up ourselves. And then we'll put in a nice other herb, usually it's sage, and then we'll bring in sweetgrass, which brings in the good powers, the good vibes that you would need, and any things else. Then I will cup. I will use some needling, although I'm not a licensed needler, but I do a little bit of needling, but it's not where it just sticks in there. It's just a spot, more like a pressure point. And do some massage. But for me, when I see people that are hurting, and a lot of times it is an emotional hurt. It's not a physical hurt, but the emotional comes out in the physical. So we will talk, we will pray. And some people, you just kind of go over here, and I'll physically look at them. I'll say, stick out your tongue, roll your eyes back, wiggle your ears. But usually, because that breaks up the tension, it just gives them something to laugh. But if they don't laugh, I'm going, where's the joy? There's sorrow. And even with birth, there's sorrow. And I keep everybody, I hear many a preacher, pastor said, well, that's a woman's curse, it's pain in birth. I'm going like, no, that word in the Aramaic is translated to anxiety, anxiousness. But anxiousness does not just revolve around birth. It revolves around raising children. We send them out, going out. I've sent mine all out. They're all married and gone to different parts of the U.S. and the world. And I still worry for them. That anxiety as a mom, but sometimes we have to give up that anxiety and give it to the greater outdoor universe to help. So as an intuitive, I can go in here and somebody will tell me, what do I need to heal this? And I'll say, sit down. We talk. And then I start grabbing, I have a couple of shelves over here with herbal tinctures and brand just herbs. And I will listen to the spirits as they tell me, you grab this herb, this herb, this herb. Because sometimes a combination, like I've got back here, works for a lot of people. But some people need something that's individualized. And that's one thing I can do as an intuitive. I can individualize that healing in those healing sessions. And sometimes they're hands-on, sometimes they're hands-off. Most of the time I try to keep my hands off, not on, but I get permission to touch. You don't just go up to somebody. I'm a hugger by nature, but there's some people who are not huggers. You look like you would be a hugger. And you just want to give them a squeeze. It's not one of those big squeeze or hold you forever. It's just a tight squeeze, welcome home, or a good handshake to say, pat you on the shoulder just to say, good job, good job. Let's relax. Let's breathe. Just as in birth, as an intuitive healer, you have to learn to breathe. And teaching the other person how to sit and calm down and breathe and center. Centering yourself is not going out to the outer space. It's centering yourself to the earth, to your creator, to something that's a calm and peaceful place. Because I tell people, go to your calm, peaceful place. For my husband, his calm, peaceful place is a very active fishing pier. I have no idea why, but he loves to fish. He would be happier fishing than he would anywhere else. But that's his happy place, and that helps him relax. So he has a bad day at work. He says, a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work any day. That's his philosophy. But with me, I'm going to try to say, please keep the positive. Let's get the positive in here. Now, I have chased a couple of people out of here in my shop because the vibes were so negative. But I felt harm come in, like they were there to do me harm. So I didn't let them come but so far in. Said, what do you need? They couldn't give me an answer. That, you know, that gut feeling. Never ignore your gut as a healer, as a mom. When you're birthing, never ignore your gut. If you're birthing or you're nursing and something is wrong, don't ignore it. Search it out. But I didn't ignore them. They just finally turned around and left on their own. And then I did some smudging afterwards. But that was one of those things that it very rarely happens. These doors on this brick and mortar have been open for 10 years. And I've had it happen twice. But I listened to my gut and didn't let them in. But that's one of those things. It's listen to your gut, even when you're birthing. Because every new thing you do is a birth. I don't care if you're not having a baby, but you're starting a new job. You are birthing a new career. Me going from being housewife, mother, and school teacher, going to this was birthing a whole new career. And I still have my ups and downs. But you birth it, you center it, and you give it up. Sometimes I just have to give it up. And for a couple of days, I'll go away. Because I need to. Because as healers, as birth professionals, even as a mom, my husband would say, he'd look at me and says, I need this, this, and this. I said, can you give me 5 minutes to take a shower, go to the bathroom, and comb my hair, just so that I don't have it? And then he finally figured it out when I left him alone with 4 kids. And then he'd come in and he'd say, okay, your turn, go to the deer stand. Even if you're not hunting, go there and relax. And it wound up being a nice, relaxing place because I saw all kinds of wildlife where we're at. But yes, you're starting a new career, you're starting out, and with a new mom, it is a new career. There are a lot of questions to be answered. Birthing can be scary. And yes, you watch movies and it makes it so scary. But if you look at them tied all together, it can be funny. Yeah, there is a movie that's put together with all the horror scenes that you see in birthing videos and stuff, not the videos, but just movies. And when you see them all together, it's hilarious, especially when you know it's not real. But Hollywood just makes it horrible. So.
Yes, it does. It does. No bearing on reality as well at all, although, yeah. Do you want to tell us about the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful products you have behind you in terms of, what different things we might need or benefit from at different stages of our pregnancy, our birth, lactation? I still got you, Michelle. There you go.
Right. Yep. You still got me.
Did you hear what I said? It just looked.
Yeah, it's kind of going in and out. But you want to know about my products on the back? Well, excuse me. I'm going to tell you. Every new mom, the first thing they told me, no eating chocolate. It's going to give you and the baby diarrhea. No. That's actually the one thing they want you to do is have a bowel movement before you leave. Every new nursing mom deserves chocolate. And these are called Boobylicious, and they're called Booby Bites. Yes, 2 of my clients named them. What they wanted was a different way of taking galactagogues to help with the low supply. One of them was supplying breast milk for this low supply mom. And I gave him, I said, y'all all want, she said, we're tired of capsules. We're tired of pills. We're tired of tinctures. I want something nice. 70% dark chocolate. And it has about 2 capsules of my mixed herbs. It's gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, and I try to keep everything that way. A lot of people say, well, do you not just do alcohol-free? I said, put it in a hot cup of tea. But the chocolate, these you can scrape up, chop up, put them in cookies or whatever, or just eat it straight away. And frankly, I've even eaten them myself. I just get that chocolate where you need the manganese and the magnesium. And yes, toward the last part of your thing, magnesium and manganese, you get to craving chocolate when you're pregnant. That's one of those things you need. You get to craving sweets, it's protein. Don't go to the sweet stuff. Go to get some higher protein because those are one of those oddballs. But this has like is the word kitchen sink still relevant in Australia? It's the kitchen sink of galactagogues. It's got everything in there you could want. I have, and basically it's this adoptive lactation formula. This is a tincture. Okay, you open it up, you put it under your tongue beforehand. This one is not during pregnancy because it has fenugreek in it and a couple of other ones that can stimulate contractions. But now if you're that far overdue, I'd say go ahead. You know, you can pump a breast. The breast, you know, pumping will stimulate contractions. It's got fenugreek in it, so fenugreek sometimes disrupts people with thyroid issues. So just stick with something like Goat's Root, which I have, well, this is the lactation smoothie powder tea, which is this in a powder. And it also comes in, yes, it's called Boobalicious as well. You see, I've got them up here. This was the original lactation smoothie powder tea. Everybody likes their nutritional drinks and their smoothies, and what do? Put it in watermelon, put it in, we're going into winter, you're going into summer, correct? So watermelons and cantaloupes and that kind of stuff. Your green veggies, you can do this. Yes, it'll turn your watermelon green. This is chocolate with coconut flavoring in it. It's the same thing, but it's got cocoa powder and it's got brown rice protein. A lot of moms, when we eat or when we get time to eat, we don't eat enough protein. We don't get time enough to eat at all. So we do this. Now, moms who have usually like IGT, you know, where you have smaller growth tissue, breast tissue, when you're slow to bring your milk in, there are things that do hinder that. If you have retained placenta, you know, won't allow because of that hormonal stuff. But one of the things you can take to build breast tissue, or a couple of herbs you can take, is just any good brand of alfalfa tablets. And where did I put my Goat's Root? I don't know where it's at. But I have Goat's Root capsules. And Goat's Root is one that can be taken during the last few weeks of pregnancy to help build that breast tissue and to increase supply during your birthing and breastfeeding. Now, I've got a couple that I have one here. This is called Nipple and Wound Salve. As you can tell, it's open because it gets used a lot. This is the one I tease my husband partner. He calls it snot salve, as you can see why. Die laughing, yes. But if you laugh, you learn. This is calendula, and it's got some, it's made with local beeswax that I get from the beekeepers. But it's got calendula and St. John's wort and stuff in there to put on sore nipples. But have you seen babies with carpet burns on their knees when they're crawling? You can put it on your little kneesies. You can put on scrapes, whatever, sore noses. And if it's a runny, snotty nose, it'll just blend for that one. And the other
Don't
one,
let your husband do your branding.
no, he doesn't.
Don't let your husband.
No, don't let my husband do my branding. But you know, as much as he's learned with me and watching my videos and that stuff, he's been quite good about, he doesn't brand stuff well, but he does answer breastfeeding questions, basic ones, and he has learned to take notes and to give me a phone number so I can call the women back, because he's always the one answering the answering machine. So he takes notes, but if he picks it up and it's a breastfeeding question, my wife would be better to tell you about this, but how often are you putting this baby to breast? Have you checked the latch? It seems funny to do that. But we have a man here in Fayetteville who is a male midwife, and he's an IBCLC, and he's great. I'm surprised, but he's a father of 8 children. No wonder. I'm going like, you're great. You know, you're learning fabulously. The other two, I have several other products. I've got like lotions and deodorants, and I've got 2 that are called Hot Sex. One for him, which is number 9, and number 10 for her. Yes, after Bo Derek. The number 9 is a prostate formula for men. Most men over 30 or 40 have issues with that, and that's when they also begin to have issues with erectile dysfunction. But again, mixing for family. Somebody said, I need help to get these prostate numbers down because they're too high and I don't want surgery. It took a while. I mixed the blend. They took it regularly, just twice a day, just a dropper full twice a day. Numbers come down, and I'm going like, what do I call this? I looked at it and I said, Mom-in-law, what do I call this? Yes, my mother-in-law did the branding for this one. She said, well, it worked for his prostate numbers, and it has an added benefit. So this one this is an 85-year-old woman. It was still Hot Sex. That was her clue. So I said, all right, he's 90, she's 85, and they're still doing it. I don't care. It was hilarious. And I said, well, Mom, and that actually, for men, that has turned out to be one of my better sellers. But it also seems to help men who are having infertility issues. So, because it does have those things to help with those particular issues. The women's is different than the breastfeeding ones, but it still has some of the same things, but it happens with the hot flashes and the Hot Sex. It also works for a couple of nursing moms that I've had, because one, they fail to lubricate when you're putting out all this milk. You fail to lubricate, and they say, well, it's not fair to my husband. And I'm having hot flashes even with the baby. I said, that's normal postpartum. But they said, I've lacked my desire, and I want to be ready. And I said, well, it's not going, the herbs in there are not going to hurt with your milk supply. They actually are good for it. A lot fewer, but it works. So they have come and continued to buy for, yes, when we go into the old crone stage like me, postmenopausal, I still feel like I'm giving birth. I'm still looking at TV and I'm watching these people saying, okay, babies, let's push. Don't scream. And just going like, but we go into a different stage at each stage of life. I love to watch birth. My daughter's first birth, my daughter's first catch, who's now an RN, was a baby goat we had. She was screaming, but she thought that was the coolest thing. So her first birth was a kid. Yeah, the kind with the horns.
Michelle, do you want to tell us about your labor preparation formula and your postpartum formula as well, and the benefits of those?
Okay, the labor prep is usually for the last couple of weeks of pregnancy, especially these women. Doctors don't want you to go past 39 weeks. We know that some babies are not finished toasting until they're 42 weeks. And some women just are kind of anxious. What it is that it is mostly homeopathic. There is a little black and blue cohosh to kind of stimulate those contractions. There's alfalfa. There is red raspberry leaf. These and some vitamin C and a little bit of, I get it powdered evening primrose oil and put in there to help stimulate and help with stimulate those contractions, help grab vitamin C. Red raspberry leaf's been used for thousands of years by the Cherokee, by a lot of Eastern Band Indians. So it's one of those things that they say it has no scientific proof. For me, if it's been used by tribal people with very little issue for thousands of years, that's good proof. I mean, some people are allergic to red raspberry leaf. But for women who are just, and they're also a little scared, but it just helps to tone the uterus a little bit, to help you so that you don't, it won't help, but it helps to tone, that you can manage those Braxton Hicks contractions. The postpartum formula has alfalfa. It has a little black cohosh so that it can contract down, and some shepherd's purse so that you don't bleed so hard. It also has, well, the alfalfa has calcium and that kind of stuff. It has nettles and some spinach in it so that you grab those vitamin C, the vitamins and minerals that you would last. And it's a tincture, but I actually prefer women to say, look, let's put it in a cup of tea so that you can use this and drink this on the regular. One, it does, the alfalfa and the other stuff help boost milk supply. So that postpartum formula, you only need it for a few days, but just a few days. And usually most women use it 2 days after birth. That helps with the bleeding and the other stuff and the afterbirth cramps, because we know that every time when you nurse, your uterus is going down and you're going to have some cramping. And it does have a little cramp arc in it, so it doesn't have so much pain, you know, with those cramps that you're getting. But it works wonderfully. Most all of these are available. They're on my website. Right now, I also sell CBD, and that has kind of hurt, but no, it hasn't hurt. It's just hurt with payment. So all you have to do is just email me with your order from whatever's on the website, and I send it. Yes, I send. It takes a little longer to get to Australia, but I send to Canada, Mexico, Ecuador, and I just got a lady in from France. So it's gone from France and England, and I have a couple of ladies, lactation consultant friends in Australia, who have brought some home from the International Lactation Conference. So it helps. And if anybody wants to say, I'll buy a bunch, I'll wholesale it to them, and then they can retail it to other moms, and then you can call me. I mean, I'm pretty good about taking calls. Yes, I do get 2 a.m. calls. So
I hope someone takes you up on that offer, because Oh my gosh, just things like red raspberry are so useful. From my own pregnancies, I really loved using red raspberry leaf at the end. Of course, the evening primrose oil, the GLA in that. We don't have GLA in our diets normally, and we need the GLA to manufacture the prolactin to, go into labor and all those hormones. So there's all these things that herbs give us that we would previously have just had as part of our diets. That our bodies need to go into labor and need to breastfeed. And you've mentioned as well rice protein. I used to put that all through my pregnancies and breastfeeding. I would get like organic sprouted rice protein and get a scoop and put it into my smoothies just to boost that protein, because protein is so important. So all the things that you're mentioning, they're just so vital. And I think our grandmothers, and the generations before just would have known how to forage and go get these things from the garden or the local forest. And we don't have that anymore. The forests are gone. We don't have gardens. We live in apartments. So we really, really need people like you who have this wisdom and keep it and keep on sharing it and package it in a way that we can understand and then bring in and use.
Well, I'd be glad for anybody to do that. And yes, and the soils that we have now are depleted. We use all kinds of, everything is a chemical. I must say, it is a chemical, but there's so many bad chemicals that we're using, and we have depleted our soil by not rotating crops, by doing other things. And yes, some soils are richer than others, but we don't compost. We don't do those things anymore. We don't eat whole foods. And everybody said, now it's like, I don't want to eat pork. And I'm going like, my grandma and great-grandmothers ate pork most days of their life because that was poor folks' meat. But then they were in the garden. They were working outdoors. They were doing hard manual labor. So they ate that extra fat and the extra salt and the other stuff. Because people don't realize in pregnancy, you still need salt. A lot of people say, no salt. You need salt to taste. Because amniotic fluid is made out of salt water, close to seawater. So you definitely need salt. You need those extra proteins. And yes, I'm willing to go anywhere to speak and teach. Those are things that I like to do and like to do hands-on. With people. And I've actually, some mamas have told me, how far along am I? And I'm going like, you're kind of small. Give me a guess. I'll do, even doctors are not even hands-on anymore. You get all these beeps and buzzes and machines. And yet we don't have that healing and the nutrition information that people would just sit down and tell us. Now, some things my grandmother told me, I didn't have enough gray hair. She's now gone, and I think I have enough gray hair. So, but my aunts knew it, so they've told me. My mother has known it, so she's passed some things on to me. And when I was little, we ate as much organic stuff as we could. Many a days a sore thumb, shelling peas. But we grow what we eat. And if we do that, and a lot of cities are now growing their vegetables on top of those apartments. One, it insulates them. But number two, you get out there and you get some food. But it's still not like what it used to be. But these herbs and that kind of stuff. And I don't know what different people around the world use different herbs. The Philippines, they use moringa, mullein, is what some people call it. Other things that knowledge is there. Now, there's a couple of good books that if moms are having issues with milk supply or want to learn more about herbs, and actually, there's the TOTS formula. And if you're having problems with sore nipples, check for a tongue tie. Get you some tongue ties, savvy lactation consultant. This is a book called Making More Milk by a friend of mine. couple of them, Lisa Marasco and Diana West. This is the new version, and it's available on Amazon. But she goes through and talks about different things like this is conditions that can affect nutrient intake, eating disorders, gastric bypass. Moms that have had gastric bypass may have issues breastfeeding. So we want to make sure that they get enough of that protein. In a smoothie, you don't have as much stomach space, but a powder packed smoothie has it. The other one is for moms. I find that this is actually a good one. It's called Finding Sufficiency. And this is Diana Cassar. And she's been a lactation consultant, a OHA leader. But this is finding for women who have had, or people who are, finding insufficient glandular tissue. They're finding maybe they've had a mastectomy. Maybe they're transgender and they want to try to breastfeed their babies. It has been shown that men have lactated in emergency situations, but that's historical. But at least men, my son had they adopted a baby that was premature. They did not breastfeed. They chose not to breastfeed. They did get some breast milk for the first bit. But since she was in the NICU, they spent hours, and my son took off his shirt, spent hours of skin to skin. She didn't latch, but they wound up subsequently adopting 4, but this baby needed that skin to skin. And he's found that the others have needed the cuddling and stuff that they didn't get. So even like Finding Sufficiency, moms who are adopting can breastfeed. There are different tools to use. You can call me and find out the tools. And there are other lactation consultants I see that you've had a couple of good ones on that have discussed some of that stuff. So yeah, it can work. And sometimes if you can't do anything, or if you can't as much, you find the sufficiency in yourself. But some moms don't have enough. And if you use a bottle or donor milk or whatever, don't find yourself, oh, I'm a bad mom. You're actually a great mom. I tell my moms that. You're a great mom. I'm smashingly, wonderfully proud of how you've come. I've got a mom that I have worked with over the past almost year now. She came before she knew she had insufficient glandular tissue. She'd had a gastric bypass. She had a couple other health issues, and we worked it out. So one, she had a donor mama that had a milk mama, as well as baby wound up being tongue-tied. So we got that fixed. And I have told her all along how proud I was. She was pumping. She was doing everything that she needed to give the baby her own milk, plus her other milk. And now that baby's 10 months old, getting solids, gaining, doing quite well. And I even told her today, she called me for something and I said, I'm just so proud of you. I'm just so proud of you. You have 3 older children, and this is number 4. I'm just so proud of you. And I think that's what mamas need. It doesn't, so some things don't turn out the way we want them. But if we have someone like you or another person that is encouraging and tell them you can do this, or you're doing great at this, even if they don't feel great at doing this, just to give them the pat on the back and say, you're doing this. You're doing well for what you've been given. Finding it in yourself to be sufficient in yourself. And that's what a lot of moms need. Even in birth.
Yeah.
Know that I am sufficient in what I'm doing. That I can do this by myself. And there's a couple times I'm going like, I came about that close, but I needed some catching hands. I could have probably done it myself, but I wanted somebody there. But Um, go to the hospital, be there. You're not in labor. I said, I'm a birthing coach. 20 minutes later, babies are here. You're like, how did you do that? You're not in labor. I said, I know my body.
I know. I got turned, they tried to turn me away as well when I was having my second girl. And they were like, no, you don't need the bath yet or anything. You've only just got here. And I was like, I need that bath and I need it right now. And the baby popped out, 40 minutes later. So yeah, because I was like, I know my body. I know what's happening. And yeah, I don't look like I'm in labor, but I know that I am. So,
well, what was nice was at the one place, my neighbor was a nurse in labor and delivery there. And they said, well, she's not hollering and screaming. She's a Lamaze instructor. This is not her first rodeo. This is not her first child. She knows what she's doing. And so I'm going like, thank you. She said, now, how do you want to do this? Do you want to walk or ride upstairs? And I said, I'm tired of walking. I've walked this whole labor. Give me a ride upstairs. I got a ride upstairs, got a ride to the birth bed, and that was it. 20 minutes later. But I knew my body. And
yeah.
2 were real short and 2 were a little longer. What was funny, my fat babies were the quick ones. My 8-pound plus babies were the big ones and the quick ones. So,
do you want to tell us, is there, like, you've got your the Simply Herbal Organics website. Is there anywhere else that people can follow you online, or actually, is it just on your website?
Okay, Simply Herbal Organics. I have a Facebook page, and it's called Simply Herbal Organics with the Facebook. And you can always, Michelle Ann Roberts Turner is my regular Facebook page. I'm on LinkedIn as Michelle Turner, and it's A.R. Turner because there are like 3 in North Carolina. And Instagram is Simply Herbal Organic, which it wouldn't fit organics in there. So it's like, I should have just put Simply Herbal Origami. But I'm going like, no, we'll just leave it at that. That's the way it went in. I am on Instagram, but not as much as I should be. But I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook, so you can follow me there. A few of my adventures, a few of my children. Unfortunately, because of, I don't have much of my grandchildren on there because of parental rules, but they're their parents. And I figured, you know what, that's exactly what they want. That's fine. So
they're looking out for them. Yeah.
I'm looking out for them, and they're looking out for them. Especially with adoptions and that kind of stuff, you want to make sure that they're fine. But I still get plenty of pictures, so I show pictures.
Yeah. It's been lovely having you today on Learning to Birth, Michelle. There's been so many stories and wisdom that you've brought up that I would just love someone to sit down with you and, help you write a book basically about your life and your grandmother's life and everything. And it's just so amazing, everything that you have to say. I don't think we could ever make your life fit in an hour, but we've done our best.
Yes, you don't want to do my life in an hour. But yes, there are some other funny stories, and I've worked on the book for 10 years. I need help.
We got to do it. It sounds amazing.
Title milkweeds in my head all these years to do all of these herbs and what they do and how they do it, but then interspersed with those grandmas and great grandmas stories and even a little bit of mine.
We got to do that.
We've got to do that. But we have to. We have to save those stories for our children and our grandchildren, because what are they going to know? My grandmother had all her children at home except for the last one, and that's because there was nobody to deliver her. And she's 8 months older than I am. So my aunt and I are the same age. But yeah, so many different factors that come in on that. But yes, and I want to thank you for having me. It's been a blast. I get to laugh. I get to laugh.
Yeah.
I've made somebody else. Hopefully, I've made someone else laugh and made their day. Because we have to see the
I
humor.
reckon.
We have to see the humor in life.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, I'd love to ask you a question, and that is, like, what greater wisdom do you think that the Native American traditions with regards to, you know, pregnancy and breastfeeding, what sort of contribution do you think that knowledge has to make to the world that, you know, more people could become aware of?
I think it's the sacredness of the birth, that birth is sacred. It's not necessarily done alone. It is done with a group of women who pass their, not only their heritage and things in their rituals and their prayers with them, but I've seen pictures and stuff of some women. Well, they want to birth in a lodge, or they want to birth in a teepee. Now, a sweat lodge is not for a pregnant woman. I will tell you that right now, nor a breastfeeding woman. But those prayers that they issue. And we have had women who've actually been given birth, but you got some big men standing outside that door to protect her. That even in the circle when we're dancing, if it's a ladies' dance, there are men at the gate to protect those women, and even women to protect the men. But those rituals, those prayers, the blessings that they give to the mother before she learns to birth and help her with her birthing. Some are pretty hands-on, some are pretty hands-off. But then some tribes, the mother would go off and be left alone completely to her own resources. But her resource was the Creator. And they had to give birth and go on. And they did so. But then most women, if they're within those situations, and even here with some of the tribal hospitals, no, we can't smudge smoke, but we can do essential oils of sage or whatever in there and still say those ritual prayers and be there for those women. I think that has brought a lot more of that trust to birth, because we lost it. We, as a well-educated society with doctors, have lost that intuitive knowledge and wisdom that sometimes women need to birth alone. They need to have that quiet. They don't necessarily need everybody hands-on. They need somebody there with them to hold space. And I think holding space for any mother is what's needed. The Native American tribes, each is so many different, so different. But we heard of, you know, a couple of years ago when they were having Keystone Pipeline protests, there was a teepee set aside and nothing but nursing and breastfeeding and birthing moms. And there were a couple of babies born there into the hands of midwives. And they thrived. And it was cold and snowed, deep snow. But they worked. They did their best. And you don't have to just be hands-on. You have to have things ready. But then once you have things ready, let the mom do her thing. Let mom be able to do that. Some tribes are very hands-off ritualistically, others are not. But still, the massaging of the perineum and the other stuff, that's been done for centuries by clan mothers. a lot of times everywhere, just oils, squatting, standing, hands on knees, because they used to put us in my first one, we're born in that dead cockroach position that we call it. That's a joke. The lithotomy position. That's not a natural position. And you read some of the old writings, they had stools, they had squatting benches, they had people to hold them behind so that a mom could squat to give birth and do it quite naturally. Where mom might be hollering and screaming, but everybody else is quiet. And I think that's a good thing. So those are some of those things I think that the Native tribes have brought back that some have never left with their moms. And at powwows, we're always encouraging moms to nurse, or you nursing your baby. If you need to sit down and feed your baby, nobody says a thing. And actually, somebody did try to say something to one mother. And I come up and I said, I'm the medicine woman. You're not saying anything. I called Chief over. He said, either you can get used to it or you can leave. Because he said, this is what God give a mom to feed her baby. This is not a sex thing. This is what moms do to feed their babies, to give them the best. If you don't like it, don't look or leave. So it was very strong that even the men, understood that that was natural and normal. So, but, and there are other women. I miss Wycott lady. I can't remember her whole name right now. It's Native American Month, and I should know. Was one of the first women to ever get an MD. It's Native American, but she still held on to the traditions. And that was in the 1800s. So for a woman to get a medical degree in that time, it's a lot of time. So I can't say to every tribe they all did the same thing. They didn't. Too many. But to know that women are left and people are there to hold sacred space, I think is the biggest thing. And I like a couple of the ladies, Gloria LeMay and Ina May. No hatting, no chatting, no doing Jan Tritton. No hatting, no chatting. Let the mama sniff the baby. Let them sniff each other. Hold each other close. Those were the things that women had back then. And that mom was special and strong. And don't mess with a nursing mom. It's like a nursing mom. A nursing mom's like a bear mom. You don't mess with her cubs. She will kill you. So, and that is true.
That's true.
And I think a mama kangaroo or a mama koala or whatever, you mess with her babies, she's going to get you. She's going to get you. So, but that's my take on that deal.
Yeah, big times at the moment, because a lot of humanity is messing with Mother Earth's babies right now. So just wonder where that mother bear is going to come out in Gaia at the moment. But anyway, that's another question. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today, Michelle. It's been, very, very, very deeply calming. And I have felt your intuitive wisdom and your intuitive, healing just, reverberate throughout everything that you've been saying today. And I hope that everyone who's listening, that you've really got some amazing takeaways from that, and maybe some bigger questions that you can reach out to Michelle about later and follow that up with Michelle if you are interested in either her products or in her breastfeeding wisdom And so thank you everyone today for joining us. You can follow Learning to Birth at Learn to Birth, Instagram and Facebook. And thank you, Michelle. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Oh, it's a daytime.
You too. Bye-bye, everyone. Oh, it's daytime here, but whenever people are listening, it may be day or night. It's going to be all around the world. We have listeners, so yeah.
Babies are born all times of the day and night, so.
They are. One born every minute. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.